Hey everybody, I decided to do this late night show just because I had some time to go over a lot of things and watch a couple shows and find some other links. Well, you probably haven't heard, especially in the Catholic circles. So I decided just to will this together as a little add-on addendum to news from the pew that we did from the other day. I mean, you sure saw that. If you haven't seen that show, go back and see it. Rick and I did that. I can't remember anymore. Was it Thursday night? Thursday night this week, yes. So, anyways, I'm basically concentrating on USAID and the Gaza situation. Again, things that you're not going to see from mainstream or regular Catholics. I get it. You're not. Most people are trying to do other things than try to look at this all day long. I just like looking at it. I also read a lot of other books, especially on the faith. So I try to keep a balance, but I like them on times when I can to look at different areas that the normal people don't go to, I guess. All right, so the Solar report. This is Catherine Austin Fitz, she's been very great on the CBDC. She's been really good in the last couple of years on seeing a lot of technocracy and things like this. So here's her story, her write-up from the 6th, 3 days ago. I'm recording this midnight on 9 February. Trump administration, digital control grid coming together at high speed. Now that the Trump administration has been in charge of the U.S. executive branch for 2 weeks, here's what appears to be underway. Despite the chaotic appearance, the plan being implemented is highly strategic and has been in the planning stages for quite a while. Looking through the fog of Omnivore, here is what the high-speed building of the control grid looks like so far. Digital IDs. The Real ID is being supported with a strong push through the states. The immigration effort also appears to be supporting the combination of digital IDs plus biometrics. Stargate data centers. The Stargate initiative involves the building out of data centers sufficient to support a complete control grid and all digital monetary system. I just had somebody write me, Stargate did more for people in Western North Carolina than FEMA ever did. I'm like, yeah, thanks. It's like that meme. I hope they both lose. Stargate, not the people that Stargate and the FEMA. Stargate mRNA injections. This came down on day 2, and still, you'll find Jimmy Hoffa before you find more than 3 Catholics talking about this what happened on day 2. The proposition for personalized mRNA vaccines for cancer and everything else indicates a plan to roll out the injection program sufficient to implement the Internet of Bodies and continue to lower life expectancy. Stargate funding also helps support the ongoing global rollout of mega vaccine factories. I'm not sure how Musk's desire to add mesh networks to our heads fits in, but as I suspect they are injections to get them most, if not all of the way, and it is much easier to market injections that are good for you. Switching fiscal control to central bankers, the DOGE takeover of the Treasury payment systems combined with the purge of the civil service is designed to end congressional control of fiscal flows and policies. This leaves the New York Fed and global central bankers in complete control of the fiscal line. As a practical matter, Musk and his team and whatever private companies and foreign governments are now sharing those data, have replaced the executive branch and Congress in terms of control and operation of the fiscal side of government. So Musk is operating as a titular doge in a Venetian sense. As Steve Bannon rightly points out, Musk and the Silicon Valley crew could not care less about the American people. We might as well start calling Musk President Musk. And I've seen Bannon actually going after Musk. It's good for him to do that. The social credit system. It looks like the DOGE takeover of systems is setting up the infrastructure to start a social credit system as well using federal payments. Hate crime accusations and entrapments are designed to assist there. You've probably seen, we've mentioned this on News from the Pew about the anti-Semitic laws that are coming through soon. Crypto push. The testing of an all-digital transaction system continues using private crypto while a regulatory framework for crypto is being put in place and stablecoins are being used to significantly improve the dollar's ability to dollarize the emerging markets. Any country with a weak currency that finds itself up against a strong dollar will find its citizens recruited into the dollar through stablecoins accessed through their mobile phones and related payment apps. Land grab. One of the big goals is to use Bitcoin, which is a Ponzi scheme, to swap for real assets. 500 trillion of land and minerals, as Howard Lutnick puts it. If mandated government purchases can run up the price of Bitcoin, and then the 2% of who owns 70% of Bitcoin can swap their Bitcoin for land on a secret tax-free basis, they can achieve MBT, the real core of MAGA, make billionaires trillionaires. In addition, this will achieve the shutting down of federal cash flows and credit to average people, dramatically lowering the economic footprint of the average American. Climate change was not working, but plunder will. The land grab play can be done through Lutnick and the sovereign wealth funds as well as Treasury through Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. Gaza genocide. To build part of the control grid, they need to move the Palestinians out to Jordan and Egypt or continue to genocide them. It seems that there is a bit of a stall on who will take responsibility to get that done. Either way, it appears they believe they need Gaza's land, water, and oil and gas to complete the control grid, so the Palestinians need to go. The picture is still somewhat unclear on how this will happen and how they will finish clearing out Ukraine. Marketing. A wide variety of ridiculous cultural and unethical medical schemes have built up a hatred to fever pitch. 70-plus genders, transgendering kids, late-term abortions, money laundering to NGOs, and destruction of women's sports, to name but a handful. Doing lots of different actions to cancel all these things is so delighting Trump's supporters that they have failed to notice the shredding of the Constitution and the illegal coup. This is combined with crypto speculative profits and massive entertainment pumping through TV and internet, likely through porn, gaming, and crypto sites, as well as TV sports, to further support the coup and inspire the crowd to despise and or ignore any liberal or person who tries to warn that DOGE's access to and use of Treasury's payment systems and other actions underway are massive violations of the Constitution and laws. All you have to do is shadow ban and deride anyone who suggests that the proper response is to enforce the law. And you can get, and who runs X, by the way? The marketing pitch is that past lawlessness justifies current lawlessness. That's what's going on right now. Everyone's all jacked. Every time you see something, oh, wow, you think it'd be better than Kamala? Like the dumbest line in the world, because obviously, like I said, if you watched any of my shows, I've been talking about it for almost a year. Kamala had zero chance. She was just a body. There was DJT was coming in the whole way. Called it long ago when everyone was all worried. What's going to happen? We don't know if Trump's going to win. We knew. Canceling all sorts of heinous, ridiculous, and wasteful expenditures helps promote this. There is little understanding that where that cancellation is done illegally, the courts will often reverse it, and the cost will be more than the savings. That is what happened to the neocons during Bush the First. This is a classic neocon strategy. As the general counsel at HUD, later governor of Oklahoma and executive director of the American Bankers Association, once said when it was pointed out that it was illegal to abrogate a binding contract with a private enterprise, blank them. By the time they win in court, we will be gone. If you know what you're doing, you could cancel all this stuff relatively quickly on a legal basis, but it does not look like that's happening. The freedom-fighting community is betting big on RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard going into the administration, not understanding that they are in full-on support of the land grab and Gaza genocide, which are the big plays, and they are. The administration has done a great job of furthering those two picks, while muzzling the freedom-fighting community that is hoping to make progress on health, food, and other selected issues. The control grid and the land grab will override any progress made on those fronts unless it is stopped, which it still can be. Weather warfare. This is one of the plunder's aces in the hole. Weather warfare will continue to support the land grab on an ongoing basis and comes with the ability to manipulate the media, old and new, to suppress the death counts. The takeover of TikTok was necessary for this purpose. The bottom line is this is a coup. Last June, I said on Money and Markets that the leaders of the push for a totalitarian control model and the central bankers had decided to back Trump because he could deliver the conservatives into the model. What is happening now has been the planning at least since then. Trump and Musk are simply kabuki theater. What I underestimated was the speed at which they would proceed with a full-on coup. However, given that the Department of Defense, the DoD, and intelligence agency clouds all been digitized and put in the hands of Silicon Valley, a complete reengineering of the U.S. government through the digital systems is now possible at high speed. One big question is, how much will they cut off the federal flows? The more federal payments you cut, the faster you can do the land grab, the cheaper the price, and the faster you can force everyone onto an all-digital monetary system. However, if you can mandate government purchases of Bitcoin, you can run the price high and keep your supporters drunk with speculative profits while you put everything else in place. The first trial balloon I heard on using Bitcoin for the land grab, a proposal to shut down all federal flows overnight, was back in 2017, and it amounted to full-on shock doctrine. Solari's deep dive report for the third quarter 2024 wrap-up is on Plunder and goes through case studies of how this has been done globally. The folks who have done this in Russia, in Eastern Europe, in Latin America, have sometimes said that after they had finished with the world, they would do North America. This is a coup. The goal is to destroy the Constitution once and for all. If they succeed, it's kind of destroyed already. I mean, what can you do? We already kind of hammered that thing down. It's dead, and we've been beating it up for a while. If they succeed, the central bankers will have complete control. As Bank of International Settlements, the BIS general manager, Arston Carstens, has openly declared, and we played his video many times about absolute power. Notice that the New York Fed continues to run the debt and make sure the payments flow, and the markets have not reacted in a dramatic way. That is because the smart money is comfortable with what is happening, and in fact has generally anticipated what is happening. The U.S. executive branch does not run the dollar system, and they can only do what they do if the central bankers continue to allow the payments to flow in and out. My recommendation to all of us is to bring as much transparency as possible and implement whatever is possible in your state and protect the Constitution and individual sovereignty. Do everything possible to protect the analog systems in cash and checks. See what can states do. And from now on, as one brilliant ally suggests, I'm going to refer to Musk as President Musk to help the MAGA team understand what is really happening. And if the current effort is successful, our children and grandchildren will never know the blessings that we have known. Human civilization can stop, and only if we let it. Keep reading with your prayers and remind yourself that the bigger the breakdown, the bigger the breakthrough. That may this be the year endowed by grace and the miraculous shifts that divine intelligence can bring. Now, many people might just I don't believe that. I don't like this. Chuck Schumer, who I've never agreed with anything in my life. An unelected shadow government is conducting a hostile takeover of the federal government. And here's Catherine Austin Fitts. That's the problem. The last government was lawless. So now it is cool for this government to be lawless. America's social media promoting the idea that lawlessness is cool, fashionable. Abrogating contracts is cool. Genocide is cool. AI bots teaching that killing people and taking their land is the latest style. And real men don't bother with law. The killer's drunk is on. And C.J. Hopkins said, and when the blue team takes the lead again, as they will inevitably, they will jack up the lawlessness even more. And then the red team will take the lead again and jack up the lawlessness even more. And so on. Down the road to the new totalitarianism we go. Think about the EU's executive orders. Bush did it, then Obama did more, and then Trump did more. And then, everyone else, when they do the EOs to get rid of the last guy and put their own in. And then Trump did that to get rid of Obama and put the next guy. By the way, DJ Trump did not get rid of Obamacare as promised. And then Brandon comes in and takes out Trump's and put his own in. And then when DJT comes in and what? Was it 300 EOs? And everyone's jacked about it. Yeah! Well, that's your elected monarch right there. The imperial presidency. Let's not get into the imperialism. I actually had somebody tell me how imperialism was good just a little while ago. All right, let's keep going. By the way, remember when you look everywhere online right now, USAID is gone. It's gone, it's getting rid of. No, You're looking at the guy who's running it now.
He has a history of sort of ignoring that and deciding that there's somehow a global charity separate from the national interest. These are taxpayer dollars. And so I'm very troubled by these reports that they've been unwilling to cooperate with people who are asking simple questions about what does this program do, who gets the money, who are our contractors, who's funded. And that sort of level of insubordination makes it impossible to conduct the sort of mature and serious review that I think foreign aid writ large should have. We're spending taxpayer money here. These are not donor dollars. These are taxpayer dollars. And we owe the American people the assurances that every dollar we are spending abroad is being spent on something that furthers our national interest. And so far, a lot of the people that work at USAID have just simply refused to cooperate.
Are you currently in charge of USAID?
I'm the acting director of USAID. I've delegated that authority to someone, but I stay in touch with him. And again, our goal was to go in and align our foreign aid to the national interest. But if you go to mission after mission and embassy after embassy around the world, you will often find that in many cases, USAID is involved in programs that run counter to what we're trying to do in our national strategy with that country or with that region. That cannot continue. USAID is not an independent, non-governmental entity. It is an entity that spends taxpayer dollars, and it needs to spend it, as the statute says, in alignment with the policy directives that they get from the Secretary of State, the National Security Council, and the President. And it's been 20 or 30 years where people have tried to reform it, and it refuses to reform. It refuses to cooperate. When we were in Congress, we couldn't even get answers to basic questions about programs. That will not continue. That's not going to continue.
Here's Shannon Joy. I don't think people realize how dangerous DOGE is, especially conservative Inc. They seem think Trump is dismantling the government, but he's not. He's consolidating it and handing extreme power to unelected and unaccountable global oligarchs. Yeah, I can't disargue that. What was the one? I thought I had it up here. Anyway, I'll have the link up. I know it says that the Secretary of State's leading. Well, you heard it from his own voice. He's acting director right now, and he handed the responsibility to someone else.
DOGE and OMB also.
Remember this one? This is interesting. The whole White House halts $50 million in condom funding for Gaza. Everyone and their brother was posting about this.
This pause, DOGE and OMB have actually found that there was $37 million that was about to go out the door to the World Health Organization, which is an organization, as you all know, that President Trump, with the swipe of his pen in that executive order, is no longer wants the United States to be a part of. So that.
And 4 days later, he actually said that, I'm considering going back in if the price is right.
That wouldn't be in line with the president's agenda. DOGE and OMB also found that there was about to be 50 million taxpayer dollars that went out the door to fund condoms in Gaza. That is a preposterous waste of taxpayer money. So that's what this pause is focused on.
Let's see, I think I have another bit. Here's Gaza.
To them, they've used them as a method of making bombs. How about that? In that process, we identified and stopped $50 million being sent to Gaza to buy condoms for Hamas. 50 million. And you know what's happened to them? They've used them as a method of making bombs. How about that?
Remember when you called everyone, you are fake news? The Guardian's Robert Mackey debunks Trump's press secretary day one lie about U.S. planning to send $50 million to Gaza for condoms. Not a penny of the $60.8 million in contraceptive condom shipments funded by the U.S. in the past year went to Gaza. In fact, the accounting shows there was no condoms sent to any part of the Middle East. Why? This is just, you laugh not to cry. They had to say Gaza, right? It had to be Gaza and it had to be Hamas. It took me a minute, some manual analysis, but because there is a misleading and award grant in Gaza, but there indeed appears to be $83 million grant to STD prevention in Gaza. This grant for AIDS HIV prevention in Mozambique, a country in Africa, not Gaza. The description is for services in Gaza and in Hambane, which are neighboring provinces in Mozambique. They're separate. You laugh not to cry. They bring up Gaza and everyone their brother. Gaza, Hamas. This was going to Mozambique in Africa. You see anybody doing I mean, people are hearing about this. This what was it? It's got 1.6 million views, 12,000 likes, 4,000 shares. I wonder what the original one. Let's see what. Let's see. 300. Well, that's just them. The first one probably got the main one probably got even more views. Add all those up together, but you don't see anybody talking about Mozambique. Got the condoms? Nope. You just hear Gaza. Here's for Irina Isabella. As I stated from the start, the USAID's dismantling is merely a distraction when in reality is being repurposed and absorbed to be handed by one of the most hawkish politicians we've had in Congress, one who is now our Secretary of State, Rubio. Not to mention he's surrounded by Zionists and the aid of one of the world's richest tech oligarchs, backed by the DOD, Pentagram, and Palantir Mafia, whose main goal is to consolidate power via the platforms he's bought. Remember, J.D. Vance is owned by Palantir. The right is only waking up to the USAID being a CIA front for covert empire operations engaged in the destabilization of governments, the U.S. targets, because they can just blame Democrats. Same are as spineless Dems who only focus on immigration when Trump's in office, yet few said anything about this imperialistic arm before. Clearly, a duopoly is a uniparty illusion behind the military intelligence apparatus, regardless of the new face of the empire. Those cheering for the reshuffling of Trump's USAID into Rubio's hawkish foreign policy are cheering for a new phase of the hegemon. It's not over. Just look at their actions via Israel's expansion, LATAM, and threats in the form of tariffs and interventions against those defying them. It's a new direction, but the outcome will be the same. Covert ops will become overt via incoming billionaire tech oligarchy, all present for Trump's inauguration. Don't worry, Brandon had an oligarchy too. Meanwhile, as the imploding controlled demolition of industries coalesce under billionaire hands, and as Washington continues targeting West Asia, Latin America, and China, propagandized Americans on hopium and opportunistic mainstream media and the new alternative mainstream media will cheer that the U.S. is finished. Nothing's more remarkable than the allure of false hope sold to thirsty and desperate masses. And while we're likely getting into the Ukrainian war, it too will reshuffle to another theater. All efforts are to isolate the non-aligned axis, and China will be the key target, especially via isolation. Has it worked? It didn't before, but again, after Syria's fall, all bets are off. There it is. USAID may be reorganized, absorbed by the State Department, Rubio says. So, like I said, everyone's like, oh, it's gone, they got rid of it. Nope. Here's what you were talking about, ahead of his time. This is in 2013.
Estados Unidos, nunca hemos decidido expulsar a USAID de Bolivia. Se va a USAID de Bolivia. Pido al hermano canciller comunicar inmediatamente a la embajada de Estados Unidos. Nunca más USAID que va manipulando, que va utilizando a nuestros hermanos dirigentes, que va usando a algunos compañeros de base con limosna.
Regime change, all that. Here's from 2019 leaked audio recordings implicate Cruz, Menendez, and Rubio in Bolivia coup and Veterans Day reality. 2019. Here's 2018. Fact versus fiction. United Nations Security Council. Bolivia's impending U.S. liberation. See Pompeo giving him a nice little look right there.
Because in 2020, I find Mr. Musk's accusations appalling. I know they're factually baseless, and frankly, I find them despicable. It's also curious, because in 2022, his company Starlink received millions of dollars from USAID for Starlink's operation in Ukraine, not to mention the incredible amount of taxpayer subsidies that helped Tesla become the major company that it is.
Again, I might have to say this 60,000 times. I'm not saying that Peter Welch is a good dude. I'm not saying Chuck Schumer I'm a fan of. I'm not saying that I don't like the destroying the federal parts of the federal government. I don't like these guys. But when truth is shown, hey, not every leader is Bellarmine. Not every leader is 100% evil. if you're being manipulated, truth is truth no matter who brings it up. Like I said, Chuck Schumer was right on what he just said. Even if you don't like it. And like I said, I would like to get rid of the Department of Education, get rid of the FBI, get rid of the CIA, all that stuff. Yes, do it the right way. Because the next guys, as they said, the next guys are going to come in and they're going to do it even harder. And are you going to like that? Will you call that out? I bet the cheerleaders right now will call that out. Because it's not okay if the other team does what you just did. Because they don't do that. They get upset when the GOP does something they do. That's why they don't like Trump. USAID signed off on $1 billion in contracts for Elon Musk Starlink terminals in the last year. Forbes magazine, 2025, February 3rd, 2025.
Support this, man. And there's weird like BDS legislation trying to criminalize basically dissent, where you have contractors in Texas having to sign clauses promise that they won't support boycott of Israel in order to rebuild hurricane homes.
What is BDS?
Boycott, divestment, sanctions. It's the movement that Palestinians have asked us to help them to, boycott, and that's what Stephen Hawking was all about. He boycotted scientific conferences in Tel Aviv. So this is what we got to do. And
You can't get a state contract in 37 states in America unless you pledge allegiance to most favored nation, Israel.
Is there anything you'd like to say before we end the call?
We're doing it.
There's Planned Parenthood.
We're doing it. And I'm sure you're enjoying this as much as I am. Let's not talk to analysts about the burden of being right, our burdens of investing in ontology, our burdens of actually looking at the math, the burden of reading what the Rule of 40 is, the burden of being honest about what an enterprise software company is, or the burden of explaining to your friends that you're really happy. Maybe we should just stop talking about it. I'm very happy to have you along for the journey, and you are partners for us. Every Palantirian, we are crushing it. Everyone else who's listening, we are dedicating our company. We have dedicated our company to the service of the West and the United States of America, and we're super proud of the role we play, especially in places we can't talk about. And
that's Israel.
We love our success in the U.S. and globally. Also, we are doing in the United Kingdom and many other places. Palantir is here to disrupt and make the institutions we partner with the very best in the world.
Just wait for it.
And when it's necessary, to scare enemies and on occasion kill them. And we hope you're in.
Did you hear that?
Scare enemies and on occasion kill them.
You can't make this up. Attorney General Pam Bondi establishes task force to prosecute October 7th crimes. What happened to it? Was this something that attacked in like Vermont or? Oh no, it's the Israel thing. Why is there a joint task force for October 7th in Israel? Seeking justice for the victims. Deterrence violence. All right, that happened in Israel. First off, it was probably a false flag that I'll show you that here that Hamas got funded by Israel for forever. What in the why? America first? America first? That is not America first. That is the opposite of America first. That is Israel first. Whoops, I hit the wrong button. I want the video.
So are you saying Benjamin Netanyahu deliberately boosted Hamas to try to prevent a Palestinian state?
Yeah, sure. He deliberately and systematically even told, is on record, whoever wants to avoid the threat of a two-state solution has to support my policy of paying protection money to the Hamas.
So what we did, with the permission of our Prime Minister, is to let Qatar to transfer a huge amount of money in cash, probably more than $1.4 billion. By doing it, we increased the power of Hamas. We did everything in order to make sure that Hamas will go on controlling Gaza, and Palestinian Authority will control the West Bank, so they will fight each other.
Netanyahu maintains the Qatar money was to avoid a humanitarian catastrophe. Having helped to build up Hamas, Netanyahu has now vowed to destroy it.
He fed the beast and it exploded in our face. If you base your national security strategy solely on force, then you need to win 24/7 forever.
Mossad chief visited Doha, urged Qatar to continue Hamas financial aid. Israeli visit disclosed that Avigdor Lieberman, who says Mossad chief and Israeli military commander were sent on the mission by Netanyahu, the war criminal.
Strong and united in the face of an enemy that has kidnapped, tortured, raped, and slaughtered innocent men, women, children, and even little babies.
On that infamous day,
those have been proven false. You remember Brandon bringing that up, and everyone and their brother called them out on that. That's fake news. That's a lie. You notice Trump was reading verbatim that. He was given a script to read, and it was a lie. And nobody in the media called that out. That's why they're not going to let anybody with any kind of spine in that room. Well, I mean, the media did have a spine that day when he said he was going to perform ethnic cleansing, and people were going, well, by what authority do you get that? And where are they going? Somebody in the back yelled, that's their home. Syrian girl Kamala Harris, Genocide Joe, and the rest of the genocidal Democrats deserve to lose the election and go to jail forever. Of course, Zionists still win because Trump promised his paymaster, Israeli agent Miriam Adelson, Israeli annexation of the West Bank. The best outcome in the U.S. election is that no one votes so that the system is not to be legitimized. She wrote this on November 6, 2024. Trump is desperate for Miriam Adelson's cash. What will she expect in return? The former president, convicted felon, is. I hate that. I'm sorry I read that part about conviction. They have to throw that in there. Is holding a fire sale on future presidential authority. Miriam Adelson wants to be his biggest donor, but in return, she wants Israeli sovereignty over the West Bank. Great googly moogly. What happened the other day? Oh, they talk about getting rid of the West Bank and kicking the Palestinians out and the U.S. taking it over. Shocker.
Want them out.
There we go.
I think the potential in the Gaza Strip is unbelievable. We have an opportunity to do something that could be phenomenal. And I don't want to be cute. I don't want to be a wise guy, but the Riviera of the Middle East, this could be something that could be so bad. This could be so magnificent.
Now these settlers have set their sights on a new
That was the other day, and this is March 2024.
prize, one that seemed utterly impossible before October 7th. Returning to Gaza, they cheer. That is the goal of Zionist settler organization Nahalal, one of more than a dozen groups now advocating for the reestablishment of Israeli settlements in Gaza. A recent promotional video even boasts that Gaza will become the next Riviera.
The Riviera of the Middle East, this could be something that could be so bad. This could be so magnificent.
A recent promotional video even boasts that Gaza will become the next Riviera. Daniela Weiss is the godmother of the movement, and she's already started recruiting from the 700,000-strong settler community of Israel. Weiss's views, traditionally seen as extreme in Israel, have become more popular since October 7th. In late January, jubilant crowds packed an auditorium in Jerusalem for the Victory of Israel conference, calling for the resettlement of Gaza.
They think Palestinians should be deported from Gaza to make way for Israeli settlers. At least 10 Israeli government ministers attended the meeting, arguing to resettle Gaza.
There will be no Arabs in the Gaza Strip. I want them out of Gaza, and we'll use different methods. One of them is not to give them any humanitarian aid, so the countries of the world will have pity on them and take them.
It's all death in Gaza. This has been happening for years. It's all death. If we can get a beautiful area to resettle people permanently. Yeah,
How
I'd like to
many
see that.
people are you thinking about?
All of them. I mean, we're talking
All of
about
the
probably 1,000,007 people, 1,000,007, maybe 1,000,008, but I think all of them.
No Arab. I'm speaking about more than 2 million Arabs. They will not stay there. We, Jews, will be in Gaza.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, level the site, and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area.
This is the vision of Gaza, she says. A map has already been drawn up, with 6 groups laying claim to different parts of the enclave.
If we can build something for them in one of the countries, and it could be Jordan, and it could be Egypt, it could be other countries, and you could build 4 or 5 or 6 areas. It doesn't have to be one area.
The world will absorb the people of Gaza. How we do it? We encourage it.
Would Palestinians have the right to return to Gaza if they left while the rebuilding was happening?
It would be my hope that we could do something really nice, really good, where they wouldn't want to return.
Palestinians in Gaza who wish to remain in Gaza, are you saying they should be forced to go?
Palestinians in Gaza, the good ones, will be enabled. I'm not saying forced, I say enabled, because they want to go.
If they don't want to go?
No, they want.
If they don't?
The Arabs want to go.
If they don't want to
they
go?
want to go.
And the only reason they want to go back, and I believe this strongly, is because they have no alternative.
If they don't, what happens?
The normal people don't want to live in hell.
They've lived like hell. They lived like you're living in hell. Why would they want to return? The place has been hell.
What you're talking about sounds like a plan for ethnic cleansing.
You can call it ethnic cleansing, you call it the refugees, whatever you want.
Do you need to watch that one again?
They're not doing anything wrong, but I think our political liberties and our political system gets corrupted by having a handful, a tiny number of people be able to basically mold and shape the political parties and candidates to their agenda. Oftentimes having both political parties mold to their agenda through the use of their vast wealth, just multi-billions of dollars in flowing in an unlimited way. She could have given $1 billion to Trump if she wanted. There are no limits on how much you can give, but it's particularly strange when the people who are doing the most to shape your politics weren't born in the United States and have citizenship in a country that is not the United States, which is in Mary Middleton's case in Israel. She's an Israeli citizen, that's where she was born. And where she goes around saying quite unabashedly and proudly that her primary political issue is making sure the United States does everything Israel wants and needs to serve the interests of Israel and the Israeli people. And just imagine if we had a oligarchical Russian couple spending hundreds of millions of dollars every year in our election cycle while maintaining Russian citizenship with the sole overarching goal of making sure the United States government and its policies serves the interest of the Russian people. Or imagine any country sending one of their wealthiest people to just become an American citizen and pour hundreds of millions of dollars into our policies and into our politicians to ensure that those politicians and those parties stay loyal and faithful to the interests of the other country to which they have citizenship and therefore loyalty and where they were born. It would never be acceptable in any other instance other than a citizen of Israel exercising this amount of power in this way. Here from Haaretz, the Israeli newspaper, in January 2021, quote, "The fate of Adelson's political empire lies in the hands of his Israeli widow, Miriam." And that's how she's always referred to as the Israeli Miriam Adelson, his Israeli widow. Quote, "Miriam Adelson was often credited with increasing the late Sheldon Adelson's interest in Israel. Right-wing politicians will be watching to see what happens next." Quote, "Miriam Adelson surely never saw herself as an American kingmaker when she was growing up in Israel. Born in British Mandatory Palestine in 1946 to Manuka and Sima Farbstein, who fled Eastern Europe just prior to the Holocaust, she grew up in Haifa, where her father ended up owning several movie theaters. She spent 2 years in the Israeli army, earned a Bachelor of Science degree in microbiology and genetics from the Hebrew University and a medical degree from Tel Aviv University. Later, she became the chief internist in an ER at the since-shuttered Rokach Hospital in Tel Aviv. She met the then 57-year-old Adelson on a blind date in 1991, and they were married within 100 days of that first meeting. So credit to her and kudos to her for not just finding a husband and getting him to marry her within basically 3 months, but finding one of the richest people on the planet worth, according to Forbes, $30 billion to do so. You can't do anything other than stand back and on some level admire that, regardless of how damaging the outcome was. The article goes on, quote, she told Fortune magazine in 2012 that she, quote, got stuck in the United States after meeting Sheldon, the love of my life. In a 2008 New Yorker article entitled The Brass Ring that took a deep dive into Sheldon Adelson's influence when his dominance of the business and political realms was becoming clearer, journalist Connie Brooke wrote that according to those who knew him well, it was Miriam who intensified her husband's commitment to Israel and shifted his political views substantially to the right. It is highly unlikely, for instance, that a Miriam-free Sheldon Adelson would have made such massive contributions to causes like the Holocaust Museum and Memorial, the Birthright Israel Program, Friends of the IDF, the Zionist Organization of America, AIPAC, and more recently, the Israel-American Council and the Anti-Defamation League. And without her, it is unlikely he would be so deeply involved with Israeli politics and politicians, most prominently Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, or would have founded the pro-Netanyahu Israeli Hayam Free Daily newspaper, of which Miriam is also the publisher. So they weren't just using their massive wealth inside the United States to ensure that the United States and both political parties remains aligned with and loyal to the interests of the Israeli government. Even policies that the United States has long opposed but are now becoming almost forced to accept and even support, such as the annexation of the West Bank by Israel, which the United States has long regarded as deeply detrimental to American interests, which is one of the main policies that Sheldon and Miriam Adelson both want. That's why he was funding settlements deep within the West Bank, because those settlements, those Israeli settlements, make a two-state solution impossible. It means that the West Bank will be ruled by Israel, either through annexation or now through essentially apartheid. Here is the New York Times, who did a profile on Miriam Adelson when she announced her intent to spend $100 million on a pro-Trump super PAC. The headline was, "The pro-Israel donor with a $100 million plan to elect Trump." Miriam Adelson long operated in the shadow of her powerful husband, Sheldon Adelson. Now, after her death, she is playing in politics as a sole practitioner for the first time. And the article reads, quote, Dr. Adelson is poised to become one of the biggest donors in the presidential election, and if Mr. Trump wins, one of the most powerful private citizens with a say in American foreign policy. Fiercely hawkish on Israel, she was deeply unnerved by the Hamas attacks on October 7th and would likely shape a second Trump administration's posture on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Now, I have questions about whether that's true, but of course, the New York Times says it wants to convince people that it is. And certainly, while I have more doubts and questions, obviously it's possible.
And that article was in June, or this video is done in June of 2024.
Very possible that if you give one candidate $100 million to get
I'm sorry, I think the article is June 2024.
them elected, and then they go around with you everywhere promising to give you everything that you want, as Trump has been doing over the last year, there's going to be some captivity, some debt. People don't spend $100 million and expect to get nothing in return. The article goes on, quote, she is in some ways a political carbon copy of her husband, intensely pro-Israel, rabidly partisan, and a believer in the nobility of using her money, north of $30 billion, and her media empire to buy, influence, and shape the world. But she is also, by the accounts of people who have pitched her, a tougher ask. She is seen as more cerebral and disciplined than her husband, whereas Mr. Adelson enjoyed the game of politics and obsessed over tactics. He wasn't above editing the script of the advertisement, one of the people said. She is more driven by whatever is happening in America and Israeli news. Her fervor for Mr. Trump, some of his allies say, actually exceeds her late husband's. At one point, she suggested adding a, quote, book of Trump to the Bible. Her Israeli nationalism has tethered her to Mr. Trump, especially since October 7th. Her Israeli nationalism is what is fueling her desire and her attempt and her success, given the virtually incomparable wealth she has. Her own.
That's her right there. That's her. Spotted billionaire Miriam Adelson, who reportedly gave Trump $100 million, reportedly for annexing the West Bank, standing next to UFC CEO Dana White. Again, this is from January 20th, 2025.
And even if he were to retire right now, Donald Trump will have done enough for the Jewish people and for the Jewish state to earn his eternal place in the Jewish history.
Now, Robin Minotti simply shares this image that is from the Ynet News Israeli outlet. Here's what he has to say. Gaza 2035, a new smart, he says 15-minute city. That's nowhere in the discussion, but I argue it's probably exactly where they're going with this. But a smart city for sure, built on the mass graves of Palestinian children, because that's the truth. And he already, by the way, the pier was already using rubble with dead bodies in it. You literally saw the dump trucks driving by with dead hands laying out of the rubble that they used to then build what they're doing in the pier and other things. But it says new plans in Israeli media reveal what Israel wants to do with Gaza post-genocide and land theft. The dystopian vision for the Gaza Strip is being currently approved by the Netanyahu government. This is real. Here's Ynet News. Gaza 2035. Exposure. This is the utopian vision for the Strip, which, by the way, Netanyahu's office is examining. And this is not even a new plan. The New York Times reported, this was on Friday today, that...
Yeah, I mean, if you saw that article that he just showed, that was in May of 2024.
Senior officials in Netanyahu's office have been examining in recent months a plan drawn up by businessmen under which Israel will manage the Gaza Strip together with other Arab countries for several years. So this is the game they're playing, acting like they're going to allow anything other than their constant and complete control over everything that's happening there. And it says until control can pass to Palestinians. That's what they're reporting. But when you read further down, it's clear that's never going to happen. It says already 2 months ago, they pushed for the first time Netanyahu's Singapore vision regarding Gaza. So it's Netanyahu's vision, interestingly enough, and now Ynet brings the full plan and its sections. So you can see, look at this. Overlapping with the Saudi Arabian concept, and this is like the vision of the Gaza Strip in regard to how it's supposed to look. I mean, this is like right out of like the zeitgeist things they've shown in the past, like the actual movement. And it says, in the presentation obtained by Ynet under the title From Crisis to Prosperity, a plan for the transformation of the Gaza Strip from Iranian aggression to the moderate axis. I mean, it's just stuff full of propaganda. And the bottom line is this was planned out long before October 7th. Pictures are shown that reflect a utopian vision for the Gaza Strip. The only thing they need, of course, is the Palestinians to get the hell out of the way, right? It appears to them as a green and prosperous land with towers and business centers. Of course, the reality is that we're talking about illegal Israeli settlers being the ones that do this, not Palestinians. Like, if they do anything, they'll allow them to keep a certain area within it, which they've already talked about. The South, which will corral them into, despite all of the area. They've openly said these things. It says the goal, Gaza prospers as a part of the Abrahamic regional architecture. The risk, Gaza is an Iranian outpost, which is not true, that disrupts the moderate regional architects. The point is what they're trying to say is that we can either bring them into what we think is this Abrahamic regional architecture, like the Abraham Accords. It's ridiculous, guys. That's about normalization with Israel, which is about forcing these countries to disregard what their peoples want in interest of whatever Israel wants. That's the real picture of it. And all they're saying is, the raw and bad guy terrorists over here versus what we'll turn them into. And if they don't, then they kill them all. Is the reality of what Israel is putting forward. The opportunity, Gaza prospers, it says, in the past as a crossroads between two ancient trade routes. The reality is Gaza was always historically a central point. And they want to turn it back into that again. And they want you to think that the Palestinians are somehow holding that up. That's what they're trying to frame, in my opinion. It says, as part of the plan, which was drawn up in November and presented to its senior members in November, Israel is supposed to create safe and Hamas-free areas. Well, they're telling you they're all Hamas, so you put that together. First in the north, then later throughout. Arab countries, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Egypt, Bahrain, Jordan, and Morocco are supposed to supervise the humanitarian aid that will be provided in the safe areas. Wait. The safe areas? Didn't you just tell us that we're talking about a new area for everybody, but now you're talking about specific safe areas? Well, that seems to imply that you're going to push all the Palestinians, or the ones you think are dangerous, into special camps and then deliver aid to them while you're working everything out. That sounds pretty ominous. But it says the phase of the program will last 12 months. Oh, good. So just 12 months in a camp. Got it. 12 months in your special safe zone. I wonder how long that will last once they claim Hamas fired a rocket. Or look, the Palestinian Islamic Jihad is bad too. Oh, we got to stop everything. Mark my words. It says in the next phase, which will last between 5 and 10 years, After 12 months of special safe camps, Israel retains overall responsibility for security. Oh, big surprise. So just a quick 10-year period where Israel keeps doing exactly what you throw over the top of it. Arab countries will transfer the power in Gaza to, they say, a Gazan or unified Palestinian government. So that just means whatever they want it to mean. So bet that you'll never get there. That they'll have 45 arguments that are why they're just too dangerous to allow. It's the same thing they're saying now. Oh, and they'll join the Abraham Accords, which means they'll have to normalize with Israel, which they'll never do. The realization that the Biden administration's vision for a trade corridor between India and the Middle East, right? So it's all about you. But the Palestinians can be controlled for 15 years, and we'll give them something, and we'll call it for them. We'll say it's about Palestinian self-determination.
Yeah, this was last year. This show was on May 2024, so this was during Brandon's reign. Just like equal opportunity offenders here. Here's how we played Jared. I played him on News from the.
This is waterfront property. It could be very valuable to if people would focus on kind of building up, livelihoods. You think about all the money that's gone into this tunnel network and into all the munitions. If that would have gone into education or innovation, what could have been done? And so I think that it's a little bit of an unfortunate situation there. But I think from Israel's perspective, I would do my best to move the people out and then clean it up. But I don't think that Israel has stated that they don't want the people to move back there afterward. The thing that I would try to do if I was Israel right now is I would just bulldoze something in the Negev. I would try to move people in there. I know that won't be the popular thing to do, but I think that that's a better option to do so you can go in and finish the job.
And mainly the one reason why I'm putting this out, by the way, that's Trump's brother-in-law, is I see so many people out there saying, oh, this is just the art of the deal. When in the wide world of sports has ethnic cleansing, what chapter is ethnic cleansing and art of the deal? Where, can you please tell me? And then when you say art of the deal next time, think of what Jared Kushner is saying. Think of what this Madeline, widow Miriam is saying. That doesn't sound like art of the deal. It sounds like this is part of the plan that they're trying to do. And we're trying to make excuses. No, it's hard. I mean, you're not him, one, and you're not you don't know what's going on, but you're making excuses for him. Oh no, it's just not, because you know it's so evil to think that that's going on. You cannot fathom that is going on, and you voted for it. So you got to make a twist. Oh, it's just the art of the deal. Everybody's saying that, in the sense of most of his fan club is saying, oh, it's just the art of the deal. I would say that's, hit the BS button that, used to be at the Staples button, hit the BS button. Something's detected. Let's wrap this up.
The first piece of legislation I passed after taking the gavel was a resolution of reaffirming the U.S.'s commitment to the security of Israel. That was
just a butt-kissing incident. I just want to let you know that Israel first is the real thing. Or I had this. I'm sorry, I don't know why I had another one. I had other ones like Ted Cruz and even what's his face Fetterman out there. And that was Ben Netanyahu saying that. Ben, my good friend Fetterman. But hey, at the end of the day, at least we get plastic straws back. You can be better assured, even if you take your mRNA jabs, they'll kill you. That at least you have plastic straws. And after we get done bombing the Gaza and the Stone Age and killing everybody and building a city on top of the bones of kids, at least we got plastic straws back. But that's the point. As ridiculous, and I put, as another guy said, hey, we got all these wins we hear. Are they really wins? Are they being allowed? Are we allowed to have these wins? I mean, you win, you get rid of the tranny story hour. Great. Nobody wants that. Hey, who's the idiot that wants that? But then you get in its place transhumanism stuff. And transhumanism is just a byproduct of eugenics. So we're trading in transhumanism, tranny story time for transhumanism. I don't think we went in the right direction, but we're going to call it a win because it's what the other guy did. We're having all these W's, wins, all this, hey, like someone posted online the other day when Trump banned trannies in girls sports. And it's like, hey, look at him win. And the guy goes, yeah. It was, at least now we know that, after you get your RNA jabs, that he's pushing from day 2, your heart explodes, and at least there's no hairy big guy chasing you. That's exactly the point. We're all doing wins over here, but we're getting, what about these over here? What are they? Don't be distracted. Don't be playing the team party politics. There's something that stinks, and it ain't the fish. Day 2 was Operation Warp Speed 2.0, and nobody's talking about that in our circle. I think we are we're the only ones that talked about that. A couple of others I brought it up and they've heard of it, but as a group or anybody bringing it up, everyone said, "Oh, everything's been awesome the last 2 weeks." I've seen guys say, "Awesome, 2 weeks of just pure fun, winning. We're tired of winning." Yeah, well, and they won't bring those up. They will not bring those up. And then on top, you say anything about those, any negative about those, you say anything about USAID, AID, no, it's not going anywhere. What? No, you're wrong. Here's the evidence. Here's ethnic cleansing Gaza. Oh, that's just your deal. Well, how do you explain this? Like that one video when they're, back and forth with the lady from Israel from 2024. I think we're getting played. My personal opinion. Anyways, I just wanted to bring this out there. Think about it. What you got. I'll put the links in the show notes I'll put the main link where I got all these. It was from the Last American Vagabond show yesterday. He went 4 hours on it, and I pulled a bunch of content from that, and I was like, let me make a thing on our show for it. So here you go. God love you. Have a great rest of the day. And not the black belt yet. I'm just letting you know it's cloudy out. It might rain. That's all this is. Giving you some information outside of what the program media like Jack Paso and Charlie Kirk and all those guys who are never, ever, ever going to say anything like this. Anyways, God love you. Have a great one.